Hey everybody, I'm Shelly Palmer and welcome to Shelly Palmer Live. I'm Shelly Palmer and you're here. We're in New York City today. I am very excited to be here. It is really hot today, and I do mean really hot. Say hi in chat. Chat is where it's at. That always rhymes in a funny way. Tell me who you are. Tell me where you are. Tell each other what you do, because that's always a fun place to hang out. We're here to take your questions, so if you have any questions at all, just please put them in chat and we'll get them up on the screen and we'll try to answer them. You can also send me a tweet. Oh, do we still tweet or do we X? I don't know if we tweet or X. I haven't decided yet, but it's at Shelly Palmer on X and you can tweet on X. I still don't know what to say. Every time I see Twitter mentioned anywhere, it's X, formerly known as Twitter. At some point, they're going to have to stop doing that. I don't know when they're going to stop doing it, but at some point, I hope they do. We're going to cover a bunch of things today. We're going to talk about Zoom's new AI companion, which is their Copilot. We're going to talk about Code Llama. We're going to talk about, are we the unpaid workers in an AI world? We're going to talk about GPT for teachers, or ChatGPT for teachers. We're going to talk about OpenAI's copyright defense. We're going to talk about the CG boundary, which is something I made up, but it's kind of cool. We're talking about ChatGPT Enterprise, which is a new product. If we get to it, we'll talk about Seamless M4T. We're also going to talk a little bit about how you talk to your data. We may get to Amazon's new Thursday Night Football lineup tools, which are pretty cool. Not lineup, they're Thursday Night Football tools, which are very cool. So I'm glad you're all here. Again, please say hi in chat and ask your questions if you will. Oh, we have a question here on X. What is this question? Are you going? Am I going to CES? Wow. Yes, we are going to CES. Thank you for asking. Any of you who know me know that that is my Super Bowl, speaking of football. CES will be from January 9th to the 12th in 2024. It is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, tech show, certainly in North America, if not the whole wide world. They call it the Consumer Technology Association now, and CES, although it stands for Consumer Electronics Show, is really the Consumer Technology Show. It has changed pretty dramatically over the last few years. What we do there is we give floor tours and executive briefings. We have some meetups and super secret handshake meetings. If you have, this is important, if you have 5 POAPs, if you've collected 5 POAPs, you actually can get invited to our CES super secret handshake meetings. The way you get the POAP is going to shellypalmer.com/POAP. That is a proof of attendance protocol token. Yes, it uses blockchain. Yes, it will go in your crypto wallet, but you can also get it only in email. It costs you nothing. You can just use your email address, or you can use a digital wallet like an Ethereum wallet. Are those words from a bygone era? No, they're words from last year. And POAPs are really interesting. They are on a blockchain, if you remember what those are. And if you have 5 of them, we will know they're in your wallet, in which case you will be entitled to get invited to the stuff we do. We do a bunch of online salons. But speaking of CES, at CES, we will have a special event for our POAP holders, which we do on a regular basis. By the way, if you've not yet been invited, if you have 5 POAPs and you haven't been invited to an online event or to an in-person event, please reach out to us and let us know. We think we've got everybody, but we don't want to exclude anybody ever. So if you've got 5 POAPs, just let us know. And if somehow we missed you, we apologize. We've had quite a few online events and we've had quite a few in-person events, and more of them are going to happen as COVID sort of just subsides. Although a lot of people here in New York actually have gotten some version of COVID in the last week or so. Here's another question. What new... Oh, here, I'll put it up on the screen for you. Let's see if we can do that. Oops, that's not how you going to CES. That's... What's the best new AI tools you found this week? From Kim C. Kim, what is the best new AI tool I found this week? Hands down, it's Code Llama, without question, without hesitation. Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook, since we're talking about companies that are formerly known as, put out a free version of Code called Code Llama. Let's see if I have a picture. I do have a picture. And although I wasn't going to do this for a little bit, Code Llama is open source. It is completely free. And that's really interesting. There is a commercial license if you want to use it commercially, but if you and I are just going to use it, if you're going to download it locally, you have to have an awful lot of computer power to run the big models locally. There's a 7 billion parameter model, which I have running here on this PC, the gaming PC that I'm streaming on. There's a 13 billion parameter model I have not used, and there's a 34 billion parameter model that I've just yesterday spun up on AWS just to see what would happen, because that's where there's enough compute power for me to actually run that model and do it right. So I had been using OpenAI's code interpreter, which is based, I think, on GPT-4. And both Code Interpreter and Code Llama work the same way. They're co-pilots. Basically, you code and they help you code. You're writing in Python or React or what else have I used? Like Google Apps Script, if you're doing app scripts for like Google Sheets or some of the other Google workplace stuff. It speaks that fluently. It's particularly good at most of the popular languages, and it just makes you better. Like, it makes you better and faster. So this is interesting because it's free and it's powerful. There are some people, now I can't verify this, there are some people that have said online that they believe that Code Llama is as powerful or not more powerful, as good or better on various benchmarks than GPT-4. I have no way to verify that. Some of the people that have said it are people I'm likely to believe, but it's hearsay. The work I've done with it so far, it is 100% equivalent to what was happening with Code Interpreter, the difference being you don't have to pay for it. And you can also download it. And because it comes in sizes, Code Interpreter doesn't, but because Code Llama comes in sizes, you can go and put it on things that you can't really do with Code Interpreter, which you have to run from OpenAI directly. So that's pretty super cool. It's going to change everything. In fact, it's related, I think, to the story from Zoom today. We can go right to that. And again, please put your questions in chat. I'm happy to answer them. We'll get them up on the screen, and we'll try to answer them as best we can. So there was a news item today. I wrote about it. Zoom has put out their AI Companion, which is their AI co-pilot. Now, co-pilot is a funny term for all this stuff because in some cases, co-pilot implies that you are using some machine or some tool, and rather than you be able to pilot it yourself, this software will co-pilot it with you or for you. Not autopilot, but co-pilot. And I like to think of like ChatGPT as an AI co-worker as opposed to a co-pilot. The AI companion from Zoom, I'm not sure I'd call it a co-pilot. And maybe we're just mincing words here, so maybe I shouldn't get all caught up in it. But this trend, if it is a trend, this trend towards having co-pilots included in software is going really gangbusters. Microsoft's got Copilot running in Microsoft Office. They've put it out to about 600 companies, and people are using it and liking it. Salesforce has a Copilot, and now Zoom's AI Companion, which is for all intents and purposes a code pilot. A Copilot. What they're doing, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. What they're doing is giving you a way to answer emails, summarize meetings, all the things that would take up a bunch of your time after a meeting. They're trying to automate all of that. It's a kind of a super automation. I can read you some of the features from Zoom Companion. Let's read some of the features. They say, and I'm reading now, repetitive tasks like summarizing meetings and sending emails after a meeting take up to 62% of your workday. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds convincing. And of course, they say it also saps your productivity, which definitely writing thank you notes takes some brain power. There's no question about that. This is going to help you summarize meetings. It's going to also send emails, and it will send the summary automatically to everybody who is in the meeting. Now, they are saying Zoom ensures responsible AI use, refraining from using audio, video, chat, or other communications to train their AI models. And what I found interesting about this is that that's exactly opposite what their privacy policy said last week. So that's a big switch from where they were, because last week Zoom's whole thing was, hey, it's open season. We're going to take your data and just train off of it. So we're going to see. I hooked it up today. The way you get it, by the way, is open Zoom. If you're a Zoom user, obviously. This is only the paid version. It's not the free version. So if you're a free version user, you're out of luck with this. But if you have the paid version of Zoom, go and update it, because when you hit the update, there's a little button in the bottom, and it's very clear. It's right on the resource tray, and you'll click it and it'll summarize. It gives you the opportunity to leave a meeting or to opt into the AI companion. I've only used it once. That was this morning. It was pretty good, not great. I'm hoping it will get great, but these are early days, and this is a really important tool. Now, here's the question, biggest question for me, maybe the biggest question at all, which is Zoom is including this for free. That's a funny word, because it's in the paid version. So obviously it's not free. It's now a feature in the paid version of Zoom. What does that mean for the future? And I'm asking that question for a couple of different reasons. One, the way I see it, if this becomes table stakes, and what I mean by that is if everybody has to include a co-pilot with what they're doing, and everybody might, then this is a race to the bottom. What's the business model? Everybody has to spend a ton of money creating these amazing co-pilots that have to get better, because they're not good enough right now to be the kind of feature that you would sell somebody out for to use somebody else's product. Is Microsoft's Teams summary tools going to be worse than Zoom's or better than Zoom's? If your company uses Microsoft, there's going to be a co-pilot that everybody's going to get as part of the Microsoft Office. Ultimately, if your company can afford it, and right now Microsoft Copilot's at $30 a seat on top of the $22 a seat for Office Premium. So you're like at $52 before you negotiate, obviously. That's the list price, but you're at $52 per desk or per seat for Microsoft Office with Copilot, which seems pretty heavy to me. On the other hand, if it makes you that much more productive, maybe it's inexpensive. One way or the other, your company's not opting out of Microsoft Teams and Microsoft Office to go to Zoom. Is Zoom trying to hold on to you by giving you things like Calendly built in? Of course they are. They didn't use Calendly. They built their own appointment app, and now they've added their own Copilot, which summarizes, sends emails, and does the kinds of things that a Microsoft Copilot would do, or Salesforce Copilot would do, or a Google Workspace Copilot would do. Copilots are going to become the norm. Begging the question, and I do mean begging the question, who wins? And what does all this mean? How do you differentiate those products? It's a pretty interesting question. We're getting some good questions in chat here. Where do I go for my POAP wallet? Well, that's easy. Let me show you. Let me just quickly get you let me get that. So here, let's see if I can put this on screen for you. This is what your POAP, this is in my digital wallet, but what you just go to is app.poap.xyz, And at app.poap.xyz, you will see this when you go there, when you give it your email address. And these are the POAPs I've collected from, because I have them all because, well, let's face it, I'm putting them out. This is my Ethereum wallet address that I'm using for my POAPs, but you don't need to do that. You can just use an email, and that'll work just fine. So yeah, that's how to do it. It's at app.poap.xyz, and that's where you'll find it. They're easy to find. So thanks for asking that question. I think a lot of people wonder about that. So moving on. And of course, if you're wondering, where to get your POAP exactly, the way you get your POAP at shellypalmer.com/POAPs. It's just kind of a fun thing to do. So this weekend was Labor Day. Those of you who celebrate Labor Day, you know that there's a parade. And years back, I got invited to walk in the Labor Day parade. Actually, I get invited every year now, but it was the first time. And there was a big debate back then about data privacy and what that means. Like, what is data privacy? And that debate is still going strong. It really is. And I wrote this article that was about maybe thinking about data a different way. You've heard a million times, if you don't know what the product is and the service is free, you're the product. And people have used that all the time. They always talk about how you are the product, your Facebook's product, your Google's product. You are your data that is being reused and resold. And I think there's probably something to that. We've all generated an immense amount of data, and we do so every single day. Everything you do on your phone is logged by somebody somewhere. Everything you do on your desktop and laptop is logged by somebody somewhere. Every behavior you exhibit, every website you visit, everything you do, when you use your credit card, it doesn't matter. In the world in which we live, every place you go, everything you do, no matter what it is, you are generating data, and somebody is making note of it. It just happens that way. So what happens now is that gets repackaged and repurposed and ultimately sold, and or value is created for somebody. Facebook turns your data into wealth by selling ads around it. Google turns your data into wealth that way as well, but they have a very special engine. They translate the currency of intention into wealth as well. Because when you go to Google, you don't really intend to go to Google, you're searching something. And so Google's not really a search engine, it's an advertising placement engine. And Google uses your data not only to put ads in front of you, right person, right place, right time, right ad, but they also have a really good way of figuring out what you intend to do, because you tell it you're looking for microwave ovens. Okay, they know you're searching for microwave ovens. You want to buy one. They are definitely transferring or translating the value of your intention into wealth. I always thought to myself that was one way to think about it. And then that Labor Day a few years back, I thought, how would we ever get paid? Because my data by itself isn't enough and isn't valuable enough for me to send a bill to Google or a bill to Facebook. Sure, I get their product for free. That's probably enough remuneration. But what if I thought my data was more valuable than that? After all, I've just said to Google, I'm searching for a microwave oven, keeping that metaphor or that example going. I'm doing this all over the place. Google now knows I'm looking for a microwave. They're going to sell that data to everybody who sells microwaves. And ultimately, somebody's going to sell me a microwave because that's what I'm doing. Now, Amazon might win that battle, but Google's going to get a little piece of it because Google's going to put some ads in front of me. And I might click on a few of them just to check out, what's going on. And it occurred to me on Labor Day, where there were labor unions walking in the street with me, what if we formed a data union, a users union, the Amalgamated Data Workers of America, or some such silly name. And we would collectively bargain with Google and Facebook, and we could easily price not our individual contributions, but we could price the number of hours of research a Facebook or a Google would have to do, the number of people that have to buy data from, the companies that create profiles, companies that aggregate tons and tons and tons of data and make data profiles. We could set a price on that, and then everybody could share in their union payments for having supplied the tiniest little bit of data, but you would be getting a steady paycheck from all of the people who used it, not just a Google, not just a Facebook, not just an Amazon, but from all the people who had access to the data you created. And I like that idea. And of course, it was fanciful, and there are a million legal hurdles why that can't work. And it was a shower thought, if you will. It was just me goofing around, and I've written an article about it. It's at shellypalmer.com. Are we the unpaid workforce of the AI era? Is what I posted this Labor Day, and it's a twist on the original article. Sarah Silverman and many authors, untold numbers of composers, and other creatives are lined up either in class action suits or individual suits to sue OpenAI for training GPT-4, GPT-3, and other generative pre-trained transformer models on their data. Whether they're going to win or not, that's for the courts to decide. That's not for us to even speculate about, because we don't know. Copyright laws aren't clear on this. I have a lot of friends who are lawyers who are telling me OpenAI is going to lose. I have a lot of people telling me they're going to win, that some settlement's going to be reached, that some policies will be reached. We'll see how it all pans out. I don't know. But I thought, what if on the same kind of line of thinking, what if we were all part of the collective data creators for AI training sets, the same way I thought we were collectively creating data for Google and for Facebook and for Twitter and for TikTok. We're creating data for OpenAI and Anthropic and all the other companies and Meta, which is actually Facebook, the company formerly known as Facebook. We're creating data for all these organizations to train off of. Maybe that same idea of a collective bargaining agreement where we all get paid for the contributions. Maybe it's based on time we spend online. Maybe it's lines of copy that we write that are original by us. There might be some interesting way to put our contributions together. And then I was talking to a friend of mine just a few minutes ago. And I won't use her name in case it's not something she wants public, but she was talking to me about what we are going to do as a society to stay on top of the AI game, to beat China, to beat Russia, to beat India, to beat every country, to be number one in AI, which is to be number one in the world, in computational power. And she asked a question I don't have an answer to. We don't have our data privacy rights well understood or well respected by the law right now. We just don't. Your medical records are completely private and they're highly protected. PHI, personal health information. It's got a name. It's got an initialism. It's the subject of I don't know how many kinds of regulations. And yet it's valueless individually. And the idea that you might be able to get my medical records, what are you going to do? Tell my insurance company that I have XYZ condition? They're already raising rates every year by the maximum legal limit. They don't need to worry about my rates. Am I uninsurable? There's a law that says you can't do that in most states. So I don't know why that you're protecting that data. And the reason she said she doesn't know why, and I don't know why either, is that what if the data that I'm generating could be aggregated, analyzed statistically by artificial intelligence, and we could get closer to curing diseases that you can only cure when you have gigantic, modern, current data sets. Use AI to cure cancer, use AI to cure diabetes, use AI to cure heart disease, use AI and all of our medical data. So I can get your phone data right now from 50 different vendors. I can get your location data aggregated. I can get it in a clean room. Is it exactly your data? It's close enough to your data where if I really need to understand you, I'm going to be able to understand you. If I need to enrich your profile, I can enrich your profile. It's like we're so ass backwards on this stuff. And it was just interesting to talk about, where the lines are going to get drawn for AI training. Well, you can't train on this data. Why? It's going to be interesting. It's really going to be interesting. Now, if you want to learn about AI, and we're doing the best we can to keep this current, we have a free course at courses.shellypalmer.com. It's called Generative AI for Execs. We're just a few weeks, possibly only days away from launching Generative AI for Sales Execs, but right now it's our executive course. Absolutely free. There's no advertising in it. It's just there for you. We have thousands of people who've taken the course, and there's a short beginning part of this that's a few sections, maybe 8-10 sections. Thank you, John Perez, for saying excellent course. And then there's some thought leadership at the end. We try to update this about once a week. There's a change log, so if you've taken the course before, you can go in. There's a lot of new stuff that's happened this week. Code Llama, we just talked about. ChatGPT Enterprise, we're going to talk about in a minute. So we'll get all that into the course this week. Anyway, this is free of charge if you're interested. And speaking of things that are brand new, OpenAI put out a blog post this week called ChatGPT for Teachers. And there it started to show some ways that teachers could benefit and teachers could use OpenAI's tools, specifically ChatGPT. Now, using it in the classroom, that's one thing, because you obviously can use it as a student, and students do. But teachers fall in the same wide range as parents, fall in the same wide range as students when it comes to their knowledge. Some schools have banned ChatGPT use in class. I think that's a terrible idea. Some teachers have banned it. Some teachers don't like it. This particular blog post, ChatGPT for Teachers at OpenAI, has a couple of really wonderful resource pages. It talks about how you can brainstorm, how you can work on a lesson plan. It talks about how you can make sure that your lessons are age appropriate. If you put a complex idea into ChatGPT and you ask it specifically to explain it like you're a fifth grader, it will do that in a pretty competent way. People always ask questions like, ChatGPT hallucinates or lies. How can I trust it for lesson plans? I think what you need to know is that ChatGPT, and specifically GPT-4, the paid version, can pass the bar exam, but it's very likely to fail preschool. It doesn't work out problems the way people do, the way little kids do. It doesn't understand problem sets the way people do. But it has read every lesson plan, every test score, every practice test up to September 2021. And because it's read every practice test and it's seen the solutions and knows the right and wrong answers, it can calculate the LSAT questions pretty well. It's going to score in the 170s all the time. Is it going to be able to figure out how to put a ball in a cup and get the cup across the room and then empty the cup into a bucket? And no, it can't do any of that. A 4-year-old could, but it can't. ChatGPT will most likely fail preschool, but it's going to pass the bar exam. So if you need to say something like, here's my complex physics course for 10th graders, how would I explain this to the 6th grade class? It's going to do a pretty decent job. And you, as a subject matter expert, can then pile on. So knowing all this, a couple weeks ago when I was working on the syllabus for my Newhouse School class, I teach advanced media business at the Newhouse School. It's in the master's program, and I was asked, I think all the teachers were asked, to create an AI policy. And I'd like, apparently several of my colleagues up there have decided it was copyable. So I thought I would read it to you to give you a sense of how I'm approaching AI for my master's students. Just me in my class, because teachers are allowed, at least at the Newhouse School, to set their own policy. In this course, students are encouraged to explore and utilize generative AI tools as part of their learning and project development. While AI can be a powerful tool for generating content, insights, and solutions, it is essential to use it responsibly and ethically. When students create work using AI, they must clearly cite that the work was generated or assisted by AI. This ensures transparency and maintains the integrity of the academic process. It's the student's responsibility to understand the capabilities and limitations of the AI tools they use and to critically assess and refine the AI-generated outputs. Misrepresentation of AI-generated work as solely one's own original effort without proper attribution or citation will be considered a breach of academic integrity and will be addressed accordingly. Every student was given that first day of class. I expect them to use ChatGPT. I expect them to use Claude. I expect them to use DaVinci 3 through the API or the playground. In fact, I'm insisting on it. I'm not just expecting it. I am insisting on it. If you want a copy of this AI policy, please send an email to me. It's Shelly@shellypalmer.com. I will absolutely happily send you a copy of the AI policy that I'm using. I think this is the only right way to approach it. I don't think you can do this a different way. It reminds me of what was going on 20-something years ago, more, 25 years ago. Remember Alta Vista, Lycos, Excite.com, About.com, and Google. They were all search engines. And teachers got really upset because they didn't want students using Google. They wanted students to go to the library and do research the old-fashioned way. When I was in school, and I'm going to date myself, and forgive me if you cut me in half and count the rings, you're going to get a sense of just how old I actually am. It was time for math class, and handheld calculators were just getting real. Not everyone could afford them. My first handheld calculator was like a lot of money. And they let you use slide rules to take the SATs. When I took the SATs, they wouldn't let you use a calculator, electronic calculator. We went during math class to use the Wang calculators, which are all tethered to a central processing unit, and they had vacuum tube numeric displays. There were 10 vacuum tubes in the display, and it would display these really cool looking vacuum tube digital looking digits. It was really sweet. But that was the old days. And they wouldn't let you use anything but a slide rule when you got to the test. Now, of course, that sounds like nonsense. The idea of going to school and not using Google. Could you imagine doing your homework without Google? I can't imagine it. And at a certain point, way sooner than the time it took for people to accept search engines, is going to be the absolute end of this idea of, oh, you can't use ChatGPT, it's cheating or whatever. Is it cheating? The more subject matter expertise you bring to any of this, the better the output. The better you are, the better you're going to be. The worse you are, you'll get a little bit better, but you're not going to get a lot better. And if you don't know the subject that you're querying GPT-4 or Claude or Llama about, you're not going to do well compared to someone who does know what they're doing. So subject matter expertise is the number one driver of, or is the number one multiplier of the capability set. Now, as we talked about a little bit earlier, OpenAI is getting sued left, right, center, like on this whole idea of copyright. And they have a defense. And I've been told that this is nonsense. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if it's nonsense or not. But people who are lawyers have told me this is not going to work. Of course, it's being tried, so we're going to find out from the trial whether it's going to work or not. Now, the authors in this case, famously Sarah Silverman and Paul Tremblay, these are authors of, and they feel that the books were pirated by OpenAI. I don't know that they were or weren't. Were they actually copied? Was the synopsis copied off of Amazon? Was it a little bit of both? Were the books completely available online? It's hard to say how exactly GPT-4 came to understand what these books were about. But let's pretend that's going to come out in trial. The authors are saying that the AI model was trained on pirated copies of their books. Because of that, the infringement is obvious and absolute. That's the lawsuit. OpenAI is turning around and saying, tell you what, and I'm going to read this just to make sure it's accurate. Use of the copyrighted materials was done in a transformative way that does not equate to copyright violation. Google Books may have been scraped, but they were only taking certain statistical information deemed outside the scope of copyright protection. They don't believe that every work from ChatGPT is a derivative work, as they've been accused. They don't believe that they have a direct financial interest into the rights to the work. So they don't think they're infringing on the copyright because they're not being enriched by violating the copyright. So this is going to test the idea of fair use. This is going to test the idea of what it means to train AI. OpenAI, if they win this, it's going to feel like when YouTube, Google beat Viacom, now Paramount, in the original YouTube case, where Viacom said, look, you built YouTube on the backs of Viacom content, specifically South Park, specifically Daily Show. And the way the law was written is that if you're notified that you have a copyright violator on a platform, as opposed to you're a publisher and you've published something that infringes. So as a platform under Act 230, once you're noticed, if you take it down in reasonable time, then you're all good. But if you don't, then you're not all good. Well, it turns out Viacom lost that suit, and the Act 230 platform argument held. I think we're there. I think that's what's going to happen here. I could be totally wrong, but I think OpenAI is going to figure out a way that they are a, quote, AI platform, or a new policy is going to show up, and we're going to have this as an AI platform versus something else. And at the moment, the Copyright Office says you cannot copyright the work product. The next thing that we have to talk about is, I think, even maybe more important than the copyright lawsuit, because the copyright lawsuit, it's going to take a long time. By the time it does, things are going to be way different. Last week, the week before, actually, because we weren't on last week, OpenAI announced ChatGPT Enterprise. They haven't priced it. You have to call them to price it. ChatGPT Enterprise is exactly what you hope it would be. It allows you to talk to your data directly in a private way. The data that you put into ChatGPT Enterprise is private. It's not used by OpenAI for anything. It is walled off from everybody else's data. The security is what's known as SOC 2 compliant, which is what you would expect it to be if it were private and secure. They've got a couple things they're adding to it. They've stepped up the speed of the tools, so it doesn't, you're better off than the $20 a month version, aside from the data privacy. It's going to do faster input processing. It's going to have better data analysis, and they've got some templates which they're sharing, and they're also giving you credits against the API. So if you don't want to use the ChatGPT interface that they've built, you can quite easily, I think it's a week's worth of work, you could build your own chat client and have it, very customized. There are so many companies out there right now that's what they're doing. They're building these custom interfaces that are templated. We've got several clients that have requested this, sort of just ways to talk to your data. People are inputting reports, or they're inputting parts of reports. ChatGPT, where GPT-4 is filling in and auto-completing at a level that is, really spectacular, and then it's all ending up in a database somewhere as finished work. That information is then analyzed by executives who can talk directly to the data using a natural language interface, conversational AI interface like ChatGPT. It's pretty impressive. It allows you to talk to your data privately. Well, this is the thing everyone's been asking for. Everybody's been asking, how do I talk to my data, keep my data private, keep my data protected? There are a couple different ways to do it. This is one. Microsoft's got a solution too. Snowflake's got a solution. To be fair, everybody's going to have a solution. And I'm be looking to the big data companies, the data lake creators, the appliance creators, cloud providers, Google Cloud, Amazon Cloud, obviously Azure, Microsoft's cloud. They're all going to have really good, solid, secure ways to put your data in their clouds and then analyze it with whatever tools you want to analyze it with, and then talk to the data using natural language through a chat client. That workflow is really important to understand, by the way. You're not using ChatGPT to analyze your data. You're not using Claude or Llama to analyze your data. You're using your BI tools to analyze your data, but rather than you being a data scientist or a business intelligence specialist who's learned Python or learned R or understands how to code, you're going to just sit down at a chat client like ChatGPT or Claude, and you're going to ask it questions. It's going to talk directly to your database, and then it's going to answer you in plain English. That cuts out an awful lot of processes. So that's a new workflow and process that I think is really important. And it is not coming sometime next year or sometime in the future. It's here right this second, right now. You can get it commercially from OpenAI, from Microsoft, and from by next week there'll be 50 other vendors you can get it from. And any one of the big consulting firms, and even the small ones like us at the Palmer Group, can help you get this done. This is, you go to PwC or KPMG or EY, they're going to help you make this happen. Accenture, McKinsey, like I said, us, where everybody's in this game. Just one last time, if you're interested in getting your proof of attendance protocol for today's show, it's shellypalmer.com/POAP. I would personally appreciate it if you would go on X and say something nice about us, or go on Threads and say something nice about us. At Threads, I'm at Shelly.Palmer. On X, I'm at Shelly Palmer. I appreciate that. If you are interested in learning more about AI, the most up-to-date information we have, we're constantly adding to courses.shellypalmer.com. Stay tuned for the Generative AI for Sales Execs, which is coming very, very soon. And you're, of course, welcome to take Generative AI for Execs at any time. As you know, my absolute favorite time of week. If there's anything I can do to help you, you know for a fact that you can find me at Shelly at shellypalmer.com. I'm happy to try and answer your questions. I appreciate all the questions you guys put in chat today, and I appreciate you being here. I know you have a lot of places you could be during lunch, and I appreciate you spending the time with me. And on that happy note, I will simply say thank you for just being here, and I will see you next week. Take care.